A young woman steps into a hotel elevator. She presses several buttons, peeks out nervously, steps back in. She hides in the corner, gestures strangely at something or someone just out of view. The elevator doors stay open, motionless, as if something is broken or watching. Then she vanishes. 21-year-old Elisa Lam was never seen alive again. Her final moments, caught on CCTV, will become one of the most chilling internet mysteries of all time. Before we dive deeper into this unsettling mystery, take a moment to subscribe to crimecortexai. We uncover the darkest corners of real-life horror, like this one. Where did Elisa Lam go after those elevator doors closed? Now let's begin. This is not just a story about a disappearance. It's a story about fear, about silence, about a place where darkness has always lingered, and a young woman who may have become its latest victim. Elisa Lam was born on April 30th, 1991, in Vancouver, British Columbia, the daughter of Hong Kong immigrants. She was smart, introspective, and deeply curious. A communications student at the University of British Columbia, she often turned to writing as a way to make sense of her world. Her Tumblr blog, Etherfields, offered a window into her inner life, raw, thoughtful, and honest. She wrote about books, fashion, relationships, but also about her mental health struggles. Elisa had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression. Her writing didn't hide this. Instead, it explored her fight for balance in a world that often felt overwhelming. But like many young adults, Elisa also dreamed of freedom. In January 2013, she set out on a solo trip down the west coast of the U.S., determined to discover herself along the way. San Diego, San Luis Obispo, Santa Cruz, then finally Los Angeles. She arrived in L.A. on January 26, booking a stay at a historic hotel located downtown, a place that would become the center of her story, a place with reputation so dark it's almost myth, the Cecil Hotel. The Cecil Hotel was once a symbol of glamour. Built in 1924 in the heart of downtown Los Angeles, it was designed for traveling businessmen and tourists chasing the California dream. But over time, the neighborhood around it, Skid Row, began to decay. The Cecil fell into disrepair, and its guests changed. The hotel became a haven for transient residents, the unhoused, addicts, and sometimes the disturbed. Its walls witnessed suicides, overdoses, and violent crimes. In the 1980s, serial killer Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, reportedly stayed there during his murder spree. Another killer, Jack Unneweger, allegedly strangled 3 women while residing there in 1991. Locals began to whisper that the place was cursed. Room 1002, the rooftop water tanks, the alleyways out back. Too many tragedies, too many shadows. Despite a failed rebranding attempt to stay on Main, the darkness remained. This is a place where Elisa Lam would spend her final days, and somehow, the place where she would disappear without a trace. Elisa Lam checked into the Cecil Hotel on January 28, 2013. She was assigned to a shared room on the 5th floor, a budget-style hostel arrangement common for travelers. But within just 2 days, her roommates complained to management. They said Elisa was acting strangely, erratic even. She was moved to a private room. The hotel staff noted she mostly kept to herself. But nothing appeared dangerous. She visited a nearby bookstore, the Last Bookstore, where the owner remembered her as cheerful and kind. She purchased books and souvenirs to take home to her family in Vancouver. Elisa had kept in daily contact with her parents during the trip, but on January 31st, those calls stopped. She was due to check out and head to Santa Cruz. She never made it. Her family, immediately alarmed, contacted the LAPD. Officers arrived at the Cecil and began a preliminary search. They combed through her room. Her belongings were still there. Her passport, medication, wallet. There were no signs of struggle. No note. The police expanded their search to the hotel's common areas, stairwells, and rooftop. Nothing. The hotel surveillance system was checked. And then a discovery. February 14th, 2 weeks after Lisa vanished, The LAPD released surveillance video to the public, taken from the Cecil's elevator camera on the night of January 31st. It captured Elisa's last known moments. She enters the elevator, appears calm at first. Then she begins pressing buttons, not just one or two, but multiple. Quickly, almost frantically, she waits. The elevator doors remain open. She steps out, looks left, then right, steps back in, presses more buttons. Then she hides, flattens herself against the wall, as if avoiding someone. The doors remain open. Then, a moment impossible to forget, Elisa moves her hands in an unsettling, fluid pattern, like she's communicating or unraveling. She steps out once more and vanishes from the frame. The elevator doors finally close. No one else appears in the video, and Elisa Lam is never seen alive again. The footage went viral almost instantly. Within days, millions had watched it. Speculation exploded. Was she hallucinating? Being followed? Possessed? Some viewers slowed the footage frame by frame. Others claimed the video had been edited. Time stamps jump. The door delay felt abnormal. Was someone being hidden? Was this breakdown or something much darker? The internet erupted. True crime communities, YouTube analysts, Reddit investigators. Everyone wanted to know what happened to Elisa Lam. Theories multiplied. Some believed she had suffered a psychotic episode, possibly linked to her bipolar disorder. Others suspected foul play, that someone else was involved off camera, manipulating events. There were darker ideas too. Paranormal theories, occult speculation. After all, this was the Cecil Hotel, the place with a haunted history. Conspiracy theorists began connecting dots that weren't there. A test for tuberculosis had been conducted near Skid Row around the time of Elisa's death. And eerily, the test was called the LM Elisa. Coincidence or something more? Her blog was dissected, her prescription history examined. Some said she was over-medicated. Others said she wasn't taking her meds properly. But while the world speculated, Elisa's body still hadn't been found. And then, a strange new complaint came from inside the Cecil. Guests reported low water pressure, discoloration, and a foul taste from the tap. Maintenance was sent to investigate. What they found would turn this mystery into a nightmare. February 19th, 2013. Nearly 3 weeks after Elisa Lam was last seen, guests at the Cecil began voicing disturbing complaints. Their showers were trickling. The water tasted odd. Some described it as sweet or rotten. And most alarming of all, the water was coming out dark. A maintenance worker named Santiago Lopez was sent to the roof to investigate. There, on the rooftop, were 4 large water tanks, towering, sealed, and only accessible by a ladder. Each was secured by a heavy metal lid. Climbing up, Lopez opened one of the tanks. Inside floated the naked, decomposing body of Elisa Lam. Face up, arms outstretched. Her clothing, the same worn in the elevator video, was found nearby in the tank, along with her watch and room key. The sight was so disturbing that Lopez recoiled immediately. He called authorities. The hotel was evacuated. A crime scene was established. The world was stunned. The same water that had been used by guests to drink, bathe, and brush their teeth had contained a corpse for over 2 weeks. But as horrifying as the discovery was, more questions emerged. How had she gotten inside the tank? The rooftop was supposed to be off-limits, accessible only by a locked door with an alarm. And even if Elisa had somehow reached the roof, how had she climbed a 10-foot tank, lifted the heavy lid, and willingly entered alone? There were no footprints, no signs of forced entry, no ladder left propped against the tanks. Nothing made sense. On February 21st, an autopsy was conducted by the Los Angeles County coroner. The findings were inconclusive. At first, toxicology reports were pending. Physical injuries were minimal. There were no signs of sexual assault, no major bruising or wounds, no evidence of trauma or restraint. When toxicology results arrived, they showed Elisa had traces of prescription medication in her system, consistent with her known treatment for bipolar disorder and depression. But the levels were low, suggesting she may have skipped doses or wasn't taking her medications as prescribed. No recreational drugs, no alcohol, The coroner's final conclusion? Accidental drowning, with Elisa's bipolar disorder listed as a contributing factor. But not everyone agreed. The autopsy sparked controversy. Why was there no water in her lungs consistent with drowning in a closed tank? Why did the report mention subcutaneous pooling of blood, typically seen in trauma cases? How could she have removed her clothes and still gotten inside the tank unaided? The notion that Elisa had experienced a mental health crisis, possibly a psychotic episode, became the prevailing theory. But even that left gaps. Could she have overcome the Cecil's locked stairwells, scaled the tank, and entered it without anyone noticing? Had the rooftop alarm malfunctioned? Or was there someone else involved? The LAPD stated there was no evidence of foul play, but many weren't convinced. In the vacuum left behind by the facts, the internet filled the space with theories. Some pointed fingers at hotel staff, suggesting someone might have known how to disable alarms or access the tanks undetected. Others suspected guests, noting that transient residents, addicts, and even criminals were known to frequent the Cecil. Then there were the conspiracies. People noted eerie coincidences. The LM Elisa tuberculosis test being conducted around the same time. The uncanny parallels between her case and a 2005 horror film, Dark Water, in which a girl's body is found in a water tank of a haunted building. The video editing theory that the elevator footage may have been deliberately altered, a 1-minute gap, unexplained pauses. Some swore Elisa was possessed, citing her strange hand movements and the hotel's dark history. And of course, there were the ghosts. The Cecil had long been tied to legends of hauntings. It had housed serial killers, including Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, and Austrian murderer Jack Unweger. Could something otherworldly have lured her to the roof? The more time passed, the fewer answers emerged. No new suspects. No further evidence. Only speculation. And silence. The wrongful death lawsuit filed by Elisa's parents against the hotel was eventually dismissed. The court ruled the Cecil could not have foreseen such an incident, but public doubt remained. Was it a tragic accident or a covered-up crime? Long before Elisa Lam ever checked into the Cecil Hotel, the building already had a reputation. Built in 1924, the Cecil was originally designed as a luxury hotel for business travelers in downtown Los Angeles. But by the time the Great Depression hit, the surrounding neighborhood, now known as Skid Row, fell into disrepair. So did the hotel. Over the decades, it became a place of broken dreams and brutal ends. In 1962, a woman named Pauline Otten jumped from the 9th floor, killing a pedestrian below. In 1947, Elizabeth Short, later known as the Black Dahlia, was allegedly seen at the hotel just days before her murder. In the 1980s, Richard Ramirez, the infamous Night Stalker, reportedly lived on the 14th floor while he was actively killing. And in the 90s, Austrian serial killer Jack Unweger checked into the Cecil while murdering prostitutes across Los Angeles. By the time Elisa arrived in 2013, the hotel had already earned its nickname, the Hotel of Death. Whether drawn by darkness or creating it, many guests never left. And Elisa Lam would become the most haunting entry on that long, grim list. Elisa Lam wasn't just a headline. She was a daughter, a sister, a student with dreams and fears, just like anyone. Her Tumblr blog, Nouvelle Nouveau, painted a picture of a thoughtful young woman, reflective, funny, deeply self-aware. She wrote about books, identity, and the struggle to live meaningfully with mental illness. Her final trip, the one she never returned from, was supposed to be about freedom, discovery, healing. Instead, it became a global obsession. But beneath the conspiracy theories, ghost stories, and speculation, there's a more human truth. That Elisa Lam may have been in pain, that she might have fallen through the cracks of a system that often fails those living with invisible illnesses, and that in trying to find herself, she may have wandered too far. To this day, no one knows exactly how Elisa got on that roof. No one knows why she entered that tank. And no one can say for certain what truly happened in those final hours. But one thing is certain. What was captured in that elevator was more than strange behavior. It was a moment frozen in time, a silent scream the world couldn't unsee. Was it mental illness? A predator? or something darker still? Maybe we'll never know. But as long as her story continues to haunt us, we must keep asking questions. Because not every monster hides in the shadows. Some sit in rocking chairs. If this story stayed with you, make sure to subscribe to Crime Cortex AI for more true crime stories that chill, disturb, and linger. Turn on notifications, because the next mystery might be one you've never heard of.